मेरे बच्चे तक क्यों मारे ना मेरा बच्चा मेरी जिंदगी आया मेरी जिंदगी पूरी खराब कर दी थी ना मैं कैसे सारे जियांगी मेरा
You, Mr. Balakrishnan, having taken your blood-stained knife back to your bedroom, photographed it and posted a photograph on social media.
This 16-year-old is Rishmeet Singh. He wanted to become a law enforcement officer and keep people safe. What happened back home in Afghanistan was heartbreaking. Now, Rishmeet was trying to overcome the trauma by helping others in London. But Rishmeet never got to become an officer. His life was taken in a brutal, callous way. And his killers were so proud of it, they wrote rap lyrics afterward. This is the full tragic story of Rishmeet Singh. On November 24th, 2021, Guilinder Kaur got a harrowing phone call. Her 16-year-old son, Rishmeet, had lost his life in a senseless encounter.
Rishmeet Singh was socializing with his friends. They were not drinking alcohol or taking drugs. He was not armed.
Rishmeet was hanging out with his new friends in London. In 2019, he fled his home country of Afghanistan to escape the Taliban. They had murdered his father. Now he was living in southwest London, UK, with his mom, Guilinder. He wanted to become a law enforcement officer and bring justice to people like those who took his father's life. His mother said Rishmeet was attending college, completing a public service course, and his ambition was to become a police officer. All he wanted to do was help people. The irony in this case is very bitter. Instead of fulfilling those dreams, Rishmeet met the same fate as his father.
Mr. Suleiman had a particularly large 3-foot-long machete-style knife concealed in your tracksuit trousers.
Indeed, Rishmeet was having a good time with his friends in a local park, and he had just decided to walk home when 2 other teenagers approached him. They made eye contact with Rishmeet. That second, he knew they wanted him dead. Rishmeet ran toward his friends, and everyone started running. But the boys were after Rishmeet. They completely ignored the group. In a panic, Rishmeet tripped and fell to the ground on Raleigh Road.
You, Mr. Balakrishnan, either took the knife, which you had purchased with you from number 68, or you collected it from a stash by the canal.
CCTV showed a stomach-turning moment. The moment Rishmeet fell, both teens jumped on him like a pack of rabid dogs. They jabbed him at least 15 times with a machete.
Mr. Balakrishnan made 5 separate movements. You, Mr. Suleiman, a further 10.
A frantic witness called emergency services as they witnessed Rishmeet die in a doorway. The paramedics arrived at the scene and pronounced him dead at 10:08 p.m. With her only child's death, Guilinder's life ended. She said that Rishmeet had been raised with nothing but love and support. He'd never hurt a fly or indulged in destructive substances. All he wanted to do was help people and ensure no one would have to suffer like his poor father. To make things even more tragic, Rishmeet was his mother's registered carer. Now, her family is gone and there is no one left to offer support. The ripple effect of Rishmeet's death was huge, but his attackers were so proud of their deed, they ended up writing rap lyrics about it. As Rishmeet was found by the paramedics that night, Elias Suleiman and Vanusha Balakrishnan ran back to their gang headquarters, changed their clothes, and called 2 cabs to go home. The following day, they returned to the headquarters to get rid of the stained clothes. On December 2nd, Balakrishnan was arrested at his home. He did not say a word and refused to answer any questions. What the officers found on him was simply chilling. A review of Balakrishna's phone showed that he was reading news reports about Rishmeet's murder just an hour after the incident. He also wrote this note on his phone. Saw a news statement. It says, "Good Butte, but he was with Pagians. Stupid media. It was a glide, not for some stupid he wears." His disgusting little rap referred to a news report that said Rishmeet was attacked for a Gucci pouch. Instead, as Balakrishnan said, it was a glide or gang affair. But Balakrishnan was very wrong. Rishmeet had never been part of any gang. In fact, he despised them. He was on the right side of justice. 6 hours before his arrest, he wrote another note. He tripped and got dipped into my dank. And at his home, detectives found a notebook. Inside were even more heinous texts. Feel my blade rip through his flesh. Bro told me you ready to go on a glide tonight. I was excited, like a kid, going to a fun fair ride. One just has to sit and wonder, what on earth happened to this kid to end up like this?
Mr. Balakrishnan, having taken your blood-stained knife back to your bedroom, photographed it, and posted a photograph on social media.
He genuinely didn't care about getting caught. He was proud of himself. It was the first life he'd taken, and now he wanted to share his newfound calling with other gang members. When Suleiman heard of his friend's arrest, he ran away from home. His mother even reported him missing. On December 8th, he was tracked down to his cousin's house and arrested.
Admit that you were planning to leave the country. You also did not answer police questions.
In March 2023, during Suleiman and Balrakshan's trial at the Old Bailey, the judge explained the theory of what had happened that night.
By chance, a BMW was in the area, which may well have contained gang rivals, and interaction between you and the occupants of that car may have led you wrongly to associate Rishmeet and his friends with a Southall gang.
Knife crime is horrible enough, but what makes this case truly heartbreaking is that this was a case of mistaken identity. Rishmeet had just a few seconds to try and figure out what was happening. He wasn't even given a chance to explain himself. He never got to tell the teens that he wasn't part of a gang. They were just out to take a life that night, and they didn't care who they got. Balrakshan and Ilyas Suleiman were 17 at the time of the incident, and 18 when they were sentenced. The judge sentenced them to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 24, respectively 21 years.
You have spent 517 days in detention on remand, which will count towards your sentence. And so the minimum term is 21 years less 517 days.
2 teenagers have been given life sentences for murdering an Afghan asylum seeker whom they had mistaken for a member of a rival gang.
Guilinder said, "Justice is finally served for Rishmeet, but their sentence will never be enough for me. They have taken my whole life away from me, and Rishmeet will never come home again." The judge also explained the heavy consequences of Rishmeet's death for his mother and grandmother.
Neither she nor her mother speak good English. They were reliant upon Rishmeet for communication. Rishmeet was his mother's carer, as she is disabled by polio. They moved to Southall to be closer to an Afghan Sikh community. With hindsight, that decision to move will haunt Rishmeet's mother and grandmother for the rest of their lives.
Rishmeet's tragic death stands as a stark reminder of the rising knife crime issue in the UK, and particularly in London.
We had one school in the borough that faced 2 murders over the space of 6 months. The young people didn't even have time to mourn a young person, the trauma that these young people have faced. We even have young people that have to walk past shrines to get to school in the morning.
In Croydon, youth jagging incidents have become so normalized that most teens have come in direct or indirect contact with one.
It's like going to McDonald's, it's like going to a shop, hearing of a situation of another estate. It's just a part of the norm for young people.
The main problem is that gangs recruit young, vulnerable people. To many kids who grow up in gang-rich areas, being a part of one is a life goal. They have no aspirations beyond this.
There's a lot of gang culture. There's a lot of young people, that's what their aspiration is, to be involved in a gang or to be claimed as part of a gang.
This is Lorraine Dudek, another grieving mother to a lost son in an attack as senseless as Rishmeet's.
My son and me were extremely close. We had various different aspects to our relationship of mother and son, but we were also best friends.
Jermaine Cools was just 14 when his life was taken. Just like Rishmeet, he wasn't part of any gang. His stepbrother was affiliated with one though, and as his life was in danger, Jermaine stepped in to help, and it ended badly. Sadly, the ages of the victims, as well as the perpetrators, only seem to decrease with time. According to Anthony King, a community youth worker, more and more children carry knives with them just in case.
Children, as I said, have become desensitized. Some young people just carry it because they've got no father figure in the house. Their mum's working 3 jobs to provide for them and there's no adult figure in the house.
Fundamentally, these boys felt lost. and constantly unsafe. Brainwashed by local gang culture and afraid for their lives, they learn to believe that the only way to stay safe is by being violent. The problem is, with this mentality, everyone will take a swing first and ask questions later.
There's a horrendous mentality amongst a lot of young people in Croydon with a lack of regard for life, just a really poor attitude in general.
There's another incentive to being part of a gang: easy money, selling narcotics.
I've had a young person tell me, if I can make £4,000 per week selling, why would I want to go and earn £10, £11 per hour?
The only way to convince a teen to change this route is by explaining the long-term versus the short-term gain. Of course, you can make the big bucks now, but in a few months or years, you may end up in prison or even dead. If you get an education and a proper job, you can have a safe, happy life, earning just as much money, albeit in a longer time. But as you and I know very well, it's hard to change any teenager's mind, let alone a teenager who has only been exposed to this kind of life before.
Come out the shop, Weezy! Come out the shop, Weezy! Come out the shop!
Thankfully, there are organizations like Maine's World that are working hard to change these teens' mentalities and lives.
And what we've been trying to do as an organisation is go down there, engage with some of the young people. It's a lot of the kids coming from school, really and truly, just trying to find a place to hang out. But as a result of that, a lot of people congregate in that area, and it's so easy for something to ignite.
Today, there are several ex-gang members who are trying to connect with kids and help steer them in the right direction.
If I can admit to my responsibility for being a part of the problem, then I have to accept that there's a possibility that I can also be a part of the cure.
In London, there's also a social aftercare system that works with young men who have been victims and are prone to returning to their gangs. The goal is to help them cut ties with the danger.
See in excess of 600 plus a year, and that number is increasing on a sort of month-by-month basis. I don't want to see another young person dead in my resource room. And that breaks me, the thought of it happening every single day.
If these teens understand that there's life outside of gangs and a chance to live a happy life, they might try to get out. But it's a long road ahead. Let's just hope no more innocent people like Rishmeet will have to pay the ultimate price for something to change. Hey, thanks for watching. What are your thoughts on this case? Do you know similar stories? Let me know in a comment and make sure you like and subscribe before you go. See you next time.